And welcome back to A Tribe Called Dhillon podcast. I'm Angie Dhillon.
And I'm Rose Dhillon.
And I'm Alvin Dhillon.
And in honor of International Siblings Day, woohoo, today's entire episode is all things siblings.
Nice.
Good. I like it.
Yeah. And to those of our viewers and listeners that don't have siblings, please don't tune out this episode. We've got some fun content that we're going to share. The joys of having siblings, the downfalls of having a sibling, and just everything about siblings. We're super passionate about this because we are a tight-knit group. We are very family-oriented. The dynamics and the relationships of siblings. I, as a big sister, take it really seriously. So I hope if you have siblings, you can relate to us in today's episode. So let's get started, everybody.
Yeah, and one thing I learned is you can't choose your siblings.
I just want to go like, oh, yeah. I can go like this to him.
Yep. You are welcome.
Absolutely. And you got two sisters that are kind and loving.
Two strong sisters.
So you say.
Yeah.
Two strong sisters. They'll always have your back.
No, that's true. You always have my back.
Yeah. And we're
I always
always
have your back too.
I know.
Yeah, and we're always watching out for you.
Yeah, we're very unique.
You are my ride. You guys are my ride or dies, man.
We are
so lucky. Thank you.
And we are genuinely.
We're the reason why they made a three-seater motorcycle. We're all gonna be at the same time. Trying to escape the old age home,
right?
Seniors home, and get out of there. Like I can't see. I can't.
Well, at least we're going to be in all the same old home folks.
We did say that.
Yeah, we made that
a
promise to ourselves.
We all made a pact. Even if we have partners, like we don't want to be with our partners in our older age. We want the three of us. The three of us are going to be in the same care home, and we're going to rip it.
No, they can come with us, but they have to understand we're doing the same place. Yeah, play Scrabble.
Play Scrabble.
And cards.
Yeah.
And then if we argue and fight, we're using canes to slowly get up and go over there. I'm going to smack you right now in about 5 to 7 minutes once I get over there.
Oh, Mickey.
Don't take that. I do think out of all three of us being the old folks home, I have a feeling that I'm going to have the most amount of energy between the two of you. Like, I'll get there
You're
faster.
probably wheeling us one of us in a wheelchair.
No way.
And when she is mad, she's like, one more word and I'll wheel you down this hill.
No, I disagree.
I agree.
I disagree because I think the secret to longevity and the secret to making sure that you age well is movement. You got to keep your body
I'm
moving.
moving every day.
So my joints are good right now, girl.
I know. But what I'm saying is like whoever's going to reach that cane the fastest, something tells me it'll be me.
Yeah.
That you're going to reach the cane the fastest?
On the shortest
There's
time.
no way I'm going to reach the cane the fastest.
Like if you're saying you get to your cane, I will catch it fastest than you three.
No, we weren't saying that. Who's going to reach that point where you need a cane at that point?
Oh, clean your ears. Hello, clean your ears, Rose.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
Lost in translation.
She was really proud of that. Did you?
This is a story.
She's like, I'm going to be the first one with the cane.
Lately, I have been really like.
I know. This way so many times where I'm just like, that's not what I said. Yes, you did.
I have no idea what's been going on. I blame stress.
Didn't we call you a gaslighter a couple weeks ago?
No,
on social media.
These last few weeks I've had a lot going on. I've moved once again.
How many moves have you done in the last
moves in 2 years? I'm exhausted.
How many moves?
It's a Rolling Stone over here. It's a Rolling Stone.
I'm done now.
Say it again because I don't.
3 moves in 2 years.
I told you, just buy an RV. You can move it wherever you want at any time.
That thought crossed my mind. Isn't that terrible? Yeah.
All right.
This is it. And I think my PTSD kicked in on this past move. The body keeps score.
Is this the final move, you think?
I hope so for a minute.
I think Miko there just agreed in the background.
Yeah, I'm not going to.
We got Miko in the house again. Let's just see how long we can go without him barking. And I apologize in advance to our listeners and viewers if there's any doggy do sounds or, Miko acting up. Sorry. I told Rose just to bring him occasionally on set because he gets a little bored.
He signed the contract that he's going to be the 4th member of the podcast.
Yeah, but he also has ADD.
He has to make a few visits, He has
doggy ADD.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Because he's going to ask for his bonus. He's going to ask for a piece of the pie.
Are you acting up? You want to be on the set today? Hi.
Join in, buddy.
Okay, well, let's get into some good stuff. Before we get into it, I actually did a little bit of research. Well, hello. Hi. Well, look at his bugger eyes. I'm sorry. I said some mean things to you a little early. I said you have ADD. You don't have ADD. Okay. How am I supposed to concentrate now with his big bugger eyes like that?
It's going to soften you.
Yeah. I am pretty soft.
No, I mean, even
life softened me.
Yeah, life softened.
I used to be very hard. Now life has softened
That's true. You used to be very hard, Ange. I will say life definitely softened you.
I was a product of bullying. I'll talk about that one day.
Yeah, that shit hard.
And yeah, I'm telling you, when you get bullied at a really young age, it really changes your outlook on life. And I think you realize at a really young age, and I shouldn't laugh at this, you realize at a really young age that picture that you painted of what life is going to be, like rosy and nice, no, your innocence is instantly stripped in that moment. And you realize, okay, life is only going to get harder than this. Because if this is really hard and this is what's happening to me at a really young age, I can't imagine what shit life's going to throw my way. So,
well, it's really great that you're able to have that kind of insightfulness so young, because I think I went through a form of bullying, but I didn't acknowledge that. I didn't understand like what you were saying now. It does impact you in a very deep way. It cuts so deep that you think it sets you up. I think I chose to turn that aspect off and not realize the damage it can do to you when I got older.
Yeah. And I don't think you ever really get over being bullied. I think it just becomes a part of your DNA and you just have to work through it every day. I actually, a couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation about this with one of my directors in the office. And I guess her daughter is having a difficult time transitioning. She actually moved from another province. And her and I, we just got talking on the subject of bullying. And I said to her, I can actually relate to what your daughter is going through. And I said, I don't think you ever really get over being bullied. And, there's some things that I suggested, for her to take her daughter to perhaps a support group, perhaps to see a therapist, perhaps surround her around activities that stimulate the mind in a positive way, like outside the box things like painting, music, dance classes, things that are just like fun activities.
And with people that are like-minded
and
people.
you're not so much in your head, because I think for me at that young age, when I was bullied, because it was so fresh at that time. And this was also during the time that when Rena Verk, I don't know if you remember when she was bullied, we didn't even know what this was.
Right.
So it was, I can still go back and play it. And I know even for me, when I go back sometimes to the school, that playground where it happened, that is still a trigger for me sometimes, where I'm like, it takes you back to when you were a little girl and your innocence was stripped because, some people decide that they're going to play God and be mean. So I don't want to get choked up on today's International Siblings Day episode. But for anyone that's been bullied, I think we can all relate to one another that it hardens you in a way that you don't even realize it's hardening you, because it affects you in all aspects of your life, your relationships. And the biggest thing is you're going to have trust issues with people for the rest of your life. I've tried extremely hard at working through some things, but I think it's just because it happened to me twice when I got bullied, that it was like, oh, okay, like again. And it was in my teenage years. And I think that really just set the tone and laid the foundation that life is full of jerks. Life is not rosy, and you're going to have to toughen up, Ange, and just keep on going. Because what are you supposed to do? You're not going to just start crying and feel sorry for yourself. You just got to go make something out of yourself instead.
Well, good for you. And I just had my own, aha moment about like, whenever I come back to Surrey, I want you to go for a walk with me at that school. I never really realized that you always don't want to go. It's because I, again, tune that aspect out. I turn it off because I also continued that school years after you left. So I think I was able to create new memories after you left. But your final memory of that elementary school was so bad that this makes sense why you would never want to go back to that place.
And I've gone occasionally with, I try to take a different path, but it doesn't matter what path I go, because PTSD. I know, that still triggers me, and I've tried to work through it, but I think it's just always going to be a part of me. And I think at times when I look back and I have that conversation with young Ange, like little Ange, and I'm like, you're going to be okay. You're strong. And I also have pictures of myself, as you know, in my bedroom. Both when I wake up in the morning, first thing I see is a little me. And the first thing that when I go to sleep at night, it's me. So it's like I have that daily talk with myself, because in life, I have always said this, it's you versus you. Yeah. It's never about anyone else. Please don't ever feel like that you want to compete with someone else. It's a lost cause. Just compete with yourself. So every day for me, from that age, from when I was bullied, it was literally me versus life. And then I slowly realized it's nothing to do with life. It's you versus you. You got to work through your inner dialogue.
That's so true. I love that you explained it that well. Remember my line that I have, most important relationship you're going to have is a relationship you have with yourself.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you got to live with you for the rest of your life.
I like to say that the biggest fight you're ever going to have in your life is with yourself.
Yeah.
Your own demons.
We're our own demons and our own issues that we have to deal with and work with.
And you got to love yourself. I say you got to love yourself. You got to date yourself. You got to friend yourself. You got to befriend. All of those things that we are looking for in other partners and other people.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to
Give it
hold
to yourself.
your own hand.
Like Miley Cyrus, I can hold my own hand.
Can you hold your own hand? How do you hold your
like
hand?
this?
Like this?
Just like that.
But I'll prefer to hold Miko.
Yeah.
I like that.
And there's
one.
power in solitude. I don't think people realize that when you spend time in solitude, that's when you really get to know yourself. And that's where you discover your own power.
Yeah. And I think growing up, a lot of times I like to go between being an introvert and an extrovert, but I know a lot of times when you used to say to me, it's not good to be such a homebody, and it's not good to be alone. And that's the way I process my emotions when I went through my bullying. So I spent a lot of time with myself, learning my inner dialogue.
But the thing, if we maybe got you therapy then and got you integrated back into society that young, it might have been a different outcome.
True. But you know what? I don't regret anything. I have no regrets, because I think the reason I like to consider myself as mentally and emotionally strong is because I had to work through my inner dialogue, and I didn't have therapy as an outlet. So I had to really talk to myself and figure things out. And, there are times, I think one time where I was maybe suicidal, and then it really just came in and came out, because I was like, I am not going to give those people that power over me. So I quickly realized that I hold power over who I am as an individual. I can control the narrative of how in the end the story is going to play out. And that's one of the main reasons why I decided now that I'm not going to hide in my shame. I'm not going to hide in what happened to me. I'm going to take my bloody power back. And to anyone that's ever experienced bullying or that's gone through it, I know exactly what you're feeling. And we're going to shut this shit down now, whether it's cyberbullying, physical bullying, verbal bullying, mental abuse bullying. There's so many forms, right? In relationships, in marriages, with your partners, in school, work, everything. There's bullying in like workplaces. So we're going to start advocating and shutting this down, because nobody should have to experience anything like that.
Very true.
Okay, now we're getting sidetracked.
No, this is great. I think this is a part about the siblings thing to just really have to take care of yourself.
And I think this is one of the greatest things is that I have you guys. I have my siblings.
Thank God that we have each other when this stuff happens. You're right.
Yeah.
I don't think I realized how.
I remember when I heard about it, as I got older, like I remember bits and pieces when I was younger, but I couldn't process it. And when I heard about it after, like the first thing came to mind was like, just tell me who the names are. And it's like, and then we're going to have another situation. But I was like, as I got older, it's like, you still held on to that anger. It still makes me angry, but I still have to work through it to be like, if I were to see that person on the road one day, like what would I do?
I did see the person that bullied me when I was in elementary school shortly after, I think it was.
You were in college.
I was in college. Yeah, you were with me. And oh man.
She shut down. I've never seen Ange, the lion, the tiger.
Yeah.
She turned into a little, what's an animal that runs away?
I know that.
Yeah. She just went, boop. And I was like, what the?
Generally in our family, Rose is the runner, and Al and I stand our ground. We hold our peace, but
I don't like conflict.
But I think at that time I realized I hadn't processed that. I had just blocked it out.
Totally.
And when I saw her,
that was your coping mechanism at the time, right?
I didn't know any better.
You've already been through enough stress. You haven't worked through it. Now you're having PTSD at this moment.
Oh, yeah.
So and we're at a party with lots of people.
You're in fight or flight mode, and then your body was like, I won't be able to fight this, so I'll be in flight.
Yep. And I thought...
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, in my mind, I thought she was coming to attack me again. That's where I went. I thought like, oh, bitch, here she goes again now. I'm never going to say her name. I'm sure she has to live with that. And I've had so many people over the years like, tell me her name and I'm going to go do something. No, because end of the day, what's the point? I think as kids do things. Kids are cruel. Kids are mean, but they all learn that stuff from home.
She was really mean.
She was not nice. But we don't know what her home life was, and I think I have. It took me a long time to forgive her, and that was years of therapy. And the forgiveness wasn't for her. It was for me to let go of the anger and that pain that I was holding on to for so long. And you guys, I've never really shared this with you guys. And some of our cousins, this is probably going to be a big revelation. I don't have any children, as you know, and I'm in my 40s. And I think,
as you know, I'm like, what?
As you know,
as of today,
I don't have any kids anymore.
Not that she knows about.
I am nobody's baby mama. I am nobody's baby mama. That word sounds really cool, baby mama.
Yeah.
But for the longest time, I didn't want to have kids for this reason, because I didn't want my kids to go through what I went through. Yeah. And I was like, and I know you can't protect kids, like from everything, but that was my rationale that I'm like, if this ever happened to my kid, like how would I handle it? And especially in this day and age when there's technology, social media, there's so much more that can do more damage to children. I was like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I mean, I'm trying to figure out my own pain and get over it. And then now if I have a kid that goes through it, I was like, you know what? It's just better that I just don't have kids. So I kind of, I know. I kind of just didn't want to put my child through that. So
I mean, you would have been a great mother.
Thanks. Here's the thing. I think I'm a really great teacher. I'm an amazing must-see, which means
if you really
aunt.
think about it, me and Rose, like your children, you're always bossing us around and telling us what to do.
That is so true.
I'm trying to be motherly all the time.
That's so true.
Yep.
I think I would have loved to had a mini me, but I think life dealt me a different hand, and I'm okay with that. Sometimes you just got to make the most of what you have. And I realized, okay, my purpose is not to be a mom in this life. Maybe in my next life, my purpose is something else. And that's why we're doing this podcast, to figure out my purpose. Right?
Yeah, agreed.
So cheers to my siblings who have always had my back, who've gotten me through things. Although I feel like you two got a little emotional there.
Yep.
But see, this is why
it's hard to hear Big Sister getting reminded of that.
It's
incident.
also hear Big Sister talk about these things because Big Sister keeps everything in.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to be the rough and tough, but sometimes now I've learned in life, just unlayer.
Unload
on your
loved ones so they can help support. Because
I'm trying not to say God, I keep catching myself. Okay. I'm just going to do it again. We're going to pivot to something else. While I was doing some research on International Siblings Day, I wanted to try and see if there's any information online about people that are disconnected from their siblings. Is this an issue? Because I feel in the course of my life, especially in the last few years, I've come across so many people that are so disconnected from a sibling or siblings that even boyfriends that I've dated are like, I don't talk to my brother. I don't talk to my sister. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't talk to your brother and your sister? I could never fathom not talking to you, either of you.
Sometimes I need a break from you guys.
Yeah. And we blow each other.
2 days. We mean 10 years.
No, the best is what you guys say. So did you guys check my message? You open up the group chat. There's like 48 voice messages going back and forth. I'm like, I'm not going through all this. I was like, I bet you it's a whole bunch of like one-liners. That's it. Go back and forth.
And just the key of voice messages. Of like 20.
I am the start of, because there's a voice message feature on WhatsApp, and I don't understand why people don't use it. People will gladly type. I'm like, yo, use the video call feature or the voice feature. Like, stop typing.
Have the whole paragraph.
I type all day at work. I don't want to be typing.
But then I hear your voice. You're like, okay, guys. So I'm like, oh.
Hey, you leave plenty of voice messages too all the time.
I follow yours too. You do it, I do it. I just
absolutely,
follow,
absolutely.
Support.
But we are each other's best friend. We at least have a conversation once a day.
Sometimes we go a couple of days. We're good, but we always check in with texts,
right? Yeah. Or we'll do a wellness check. We'll say, "Yo, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Sometimes I have no choice. So
yeah. Well, we always worry about you. We want to just make sure you're good because you're a little brother. We just want to. I think the reason more that we check in more with you now is because of after COVID.
Yeah, and all the losses.
Right, and all the losses. And I think right now, what I'm seeing right now, there's something going on out in the universe where male are just dropping like flies. Have you noticed the suicide rate?
Yeah.
Just today, this morning, I found out about a. What is it? Not a DJ? It's actually a radio host from San Francisco, 54 years old, that was found on the shores of San Francisco. And his wife, he was 54 years old, and his wife in early March said that he's troubled. He was in physical trouble in the last 2 years, like physically harming himself. And I'm like, this is another person. And then Ellen's DJ. So I'm like, so I think as big sisters now, we just think, okay, is our little brother okay? We just do a wellness check just because we don't know anyone's mood.
Yeah.
We don't know what's going on.
Always check in with your friends, everybody, male or female.
Yeah, I'm usually bad at returning calls and messages. I usually look at it. I'm like, okay.
Guys are bad like that. Girls are really good about that. We vent. We'll get up on the phone. We'll release our stuff. We'll talk about it. Guys, unfortunately, don't feel comfortable doing that, but they don't realize how necessary it is. So once you get it off your chest, you just feel like you can move on. And I think they hold a lot of that in. So I have a lot of compassion and empathy towards men because they don't know how to process it.
Yeah. And I know, Rose, in a couple of weeks, you're actually going to start doing our intro to who we are and what we stand for individually. I'm really excited about that. And with Alvin, there was something that you had put on your profile. It was that you want to debunk a lot of these male stereotypes, right? You want to start. And this is one of the reasons why you join your sisters, because men hold a lot of things in, especially in our community.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And I want to say that we need to I want to build a community of like-minded people that, we're all kind of struggling, trying to figure out this journey we call life. and we're all going through these ups and downs. And for me growing up, I always like what I learned from around me, like, you know, hip hop had influence, whatnot. And even just being in school around you, like you act tough. Don't show your emotion. Like if you're about to cry or you feel like it's, you just be harden up. And I feel like, yeah, it worked while you were younger, but as you get older, it catches up with you, that type of thinking. And then when you start dealing with real, like other stressors, like losses in your life and other traumas, and now you're saying, oh, to be hard, just man up. Like that's generally the theme. And that doesn't work, because I tried doing that and I found myself just turning to things that were not helping me, that were making me worse, making my mood go downhill. And I said, you know what? The only thing that really helped was when I started actually speaking to somebody. And it wasn't like family, like you guys, because I know that like family can only take on so much stress, right? So you like, I don't want to burden them. So you go to a third party person, which is essentially a counselor or whatnot, and you essentially vent, and you talk to them, and you feel so much better after. And you're like, man, this is all I had to do was just talk about it. I was like, instead of me having to like have like 5 drinks and numb this and like smoke a joint and then just try to go get some sleep. And then you wonder why it's getting worse and worse. And you're like, yeah, I see what's happening here. And I started reading a lot of self-help books, and then just changed my whole outlook on like on who I'm subscribing to, who I'm following, and everything's more positive. Because as you get older, you realize like that's the influence you need, is by letting it go and talking about it. And then when you hear other men talking about it too, like, hey, we're all dealing with the same similar situation, man, you really have to just get through it and get it off your chest. And it helps you, because then you're like, oh, I'm not the only one talking like this, or I'm not weak, because you feel like you're weak when you talk about your emotions and your feelings. But really, you're not. You're actually making yourself stronger, because then when you look at the other person that was turning to other like alcohol and other things, then you're like, well, I don't need to, because I've found a way to kind of cope with it.
Good for you, Al.
Yeah, really good for you.
Well, I had no choice. It kind of came to me by force.
You know, it's and funny Al says that, because I've got a friend who is processing a divorce, and he's gotten counseling. He goes counseling every week. And since December to now, I've seen such a shift in the way he processes his feelings and emotions about the divorce, that he inspired me to go back into counseling. I was like, no, I think I thought I had it all together. I think I still have some stuff I need to work through. So I was like, you inspired me, because just watching your growth in 3 months.
Good for your friend for going to a counselor and recognizing that, hey, I think I need to talk about some things. So good for your friend.
Yeah, it's a big thing to do. But a lot of guys don't feel comfortable doing
especially
that.
the older generation too, of our parent generation, they're like the whole, like exactly like, you know, you talk about it, just suck it up. It's part of life, right? It's a part of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But,
and you know what? There's power. There's something, their power comes in being vulnerable. It's not, vulnerability is not a sign of weakness.
Yeah, no, that's how exactly
it's
I used
strong.
to think.
It's actually a strength.
It was until I just kept trying. I'm like, this is not working out. And I was like, and then I just tried it, and like, but for me, I also found that it took me like a couple different like therapists, counselors to find the right fit. It's like, and then you found one, and you're like, okay, this helped me. But the thing with that, when you go to talk to someone after like a few months, you feel like, oh, I'm great, I'm back, I don't need you anymore.
That's the ego.
Yeah, but then you go up for a while, and then you're like, oh, okay, I see. It's like life stress builds up, so you got to release it again.
It's like mood.
I'm thinking that people should just consistently have one you pulse check once a month. Yeah. Like if you get to a place, like maybe if you're dealing with a trauma or grief, start going, on the weekly, and then as you get stronger, but always maintain having that once a month check-in, so that you're always, like you're saying, that's what my problem was.
Like
I was like, oh, I've done my counseling, I'm fine. I can read through the books, and I'll do the podcast, and I'm fine. And then I was like, had quite a few triggers in the last few weeks, and I was like, oh, like I still have work to do, and I've gotten comfortable thinking I can, manage. So I have no shame in my game to say I think everyone should go to counseling. It's important for your mental health to go speak to someone.
And I think for guys, what kind of helped, good for me, was that seeing Tony Soprano on The Sopranos go for a counseling, and how we had to, and they say that part was most of the show was kind of loosely based on real events. And they say that was actually a true event for one of the mob bosses. Like he was dealing with a lot of stress, like being a mob boss, and he had to secretly go and see a psychiatrist to like get stuff off his chest. And when I saw him doing that, I was like, oh, all right. I was like, I wonder if this is real or not. But it just kind of like when you saw a guy doing it that's supposed to be that strong, and he's having panic attacks, and it's just from the life he's living. And that kind of like gave
those were powerful scenes whenever he'd go see the counselor, because we don't see everyday people, and especially men going for therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
Hang on. Now that you said that, I had to ask you both a question: Sopranos or Entourage?
Sopranos.
Wow. See,
Yeah.
I've never watched Sopranos.
I felt like
because I love Entourage, so I got to watch that.
But they're two.
They're two different genres compared to Entourage is straight comedy,
right?
And
No,
Sopranos
but
is
hands
more
on you to
real-life
pick one to
drama.
watch, like over.
Sopranos.
Okay.
I can watch that over and over again.
Good for your friend Rose for acknowledging that he's got some working through some things right now as he's going through his divorce. I actually want to tell you, when I was going through my divorce, and it's been, I think, over 7 years now. When I was going through my divorce, I too also went to a therapist, and it became fun going to the therapy sessions. And let me tell people here, because I didn't know this at first. Initially, I went to one therapist.
And that was your first time ever going to therapy too.
Because prior to that, in my marriage, I was like, I'm not the one with the problem. You are, because you're in denial. But I had things to work through too. I was immature. I didn't know how to love. Let's be real. Who knows how to love when you're in your 20s and you get married? I had stuff to work through. And of course, when you get divorced, there's that feeling of feeling like a failure. Mm-hmm. But I like to turn around and say that I didn't fail in marriage. I failed at picking a suitable partner for marriage. I think that was my thing. I think
you just two good people not good together.
Yeah, two good people that just, we didn't know how to love, and two broken people that, at least I can say I was broken, that I came into a situation that I probably shouldn't have, and I should have taken my time a little bit more. But I didn't. So going back to what I was saying, what I didn't know is that you might not gel with your first therapist that you go and see. So for those people that are looking for a therapist, or if they have a therapist and they're like, I'm not really feeling my therapist, that's perfectly natural. I went through 3 therapists until I really found one that I stuck with, that connected, and that I was able to shoot the shit and really unlayer. Because before, I felt like it was surface. It was like surface. I was only telling them what I wanted them to hear.
Yeah, it's like a good friend when you finally meet that friend that you're like, oh, we kind of share the same values, like-mindedness, and you start connecting with them on a different, on like a soul level, and that's when you're like, I can probably talk to this person.
And my therapist, and I started calling, at that time I was seeing a therapist. I was going for massage, acupuncture, working out at the gym, because these are all things that were building me back up. And so I called all those people that were in my tribe. I called them the A team, because it was like the Angie team. They were all building me back up. So I went to therapy for 2 years, and that was also because by that time, I think my insurance with my company was like, yo, like, what do you keep going there for now? It's usually 12 months, but I stalled it to like 2 years ongoing. And the therapist became like a really good friend. And I just went back and said, thank you so much, because you built me back up even better this time around. Wow. So I had the A team.
It's like Angie 2.0.
Yeah, right.
She got her firmware, software, hardware updates.
Total 2.0 version.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that, because I was talking to one of our cousins, you are an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So after, like, during a divorce, I think be very careful who you surround yourself with, because that's where you're most fragile and you're a little delicate, and you have to be very careful your inner group. So I think you did a very good job of keeping your network very small and very protective. And you had, like you said, your A team for people who wanted to see you get past this.
And you have to realize, when you're going through a divorce, you are your own worst enemy, because you already feel like a failure when you shouldn't feel like a failure. It's okay. Sometimes things don't work out in life. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. And I remember when I was processing my divorce, this is the one thing that I remember that stuck with me. No one ever said to me that you're going to be okay. And I don't know if that's something
like,
in our community. No, you know what they said to me? This is what they all said to me. Nobody said you're going to be okay. And I'm telling everybody now, from what I know, you're going to be just fine. This is what everybody turned around and said to me. Oh, you're going to get married again. You're going to find another really nice guy. That's not what I want to hear when you're freshly coming out of a divorce, that I know in my heart, eventually I'm going to find someone. I'm going to find love again. It stings right now. Initially, you're going to get over it. But what I wanted to hear was, how are you doing? And can I do something for you? Are you okay? That's it. Or you're going to be just fine.
Those are such powerful words. You're going to be okay.
You're going to be okay. And I'll tell you, the first year of your post-divorce is the hardest, because that's the one year that you're beating yourself up. Sometimes you don't want to go to parties because you don't want to explain to people your situation. But I know I still went. I still went everywhere.
Wow, really?
I
Good
did
for
go.
you.
I did. And I just owned it because let's be real. What am I going to do hiding in and being a hermit for a year? The truth is going to come out. People are going to eventually know. So my thing is take that power away from people and you hold it in your back pocket. So if you know you're already at the door, you go to that party. And no one really asked me because I think they're probably like, we're not going to say anything, or maybe they were sensitive, but no one really asked me. And as you go to more and more functions, it becomes easier and easier. And you hold the power now instead of hiding from society. What are people going to say? Or someone's talking about, because let's be real, people are always going to say something. People are always going to have something to say. But when you own your own strength and take your power and walk into wherever you need to go, grocery shopping, get gas, go buy a new outfit, go to the dinner, see that cousin of yours, I can tell you most people have more empathy and compassion than any negative energy towards what you're going through.
That's right.
But
well said.
At all of those parties, nobody said to me, you're going to be okay.
That was the one line you just needed to hear. All right. So friends, if you have someone who's going through a separation or divorce, please say those magical keywords to them. You're going to be okay.
And don't please go say, oh, you're going to find Mr. Right or Mrs. Right and you're going to get married. Because 7 years later, I don't know if I want to get married. I don't know if that's my path. I do believe in love. I'm not jaded or any of that stuff. I am a hopeless romantic, all of that stuff.
You're definitely a hopeless romantic.
I am.
You got that Bollywood in you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Or
Sometimes
the Hollywood.
You just got to be a lion and just roar.
Katy, just like Katy Perry. So that's all I'm going to say.
Good addition, Al.
And don't take yourself so seriously.
Yes.
Just laugh.
Yes.
You know, life threw a
simple.
curveball your way. You know, you're divorced. It's the D word. Who cares? Just take your power back and pick yourself back up. It's like riding a bike. You fell down, you fell off. Somebody pushed you from the back, as our mom will say. But get back up and ride that bike. That's it. And just get a new and improved version, like electric bike now. And be like, boom, go.
That is really good.
And don't fall off a horse. That might kill you.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, maybe don't go too far. Maybe I did the horse.
Wear your
thing.
helmet.
I went on the horse.
Wear your helmet.
Last year. I was like, I got to get this out of my system.
Okay, if anything in today's funny episode about life, bullying, divorce, and that you're going to be okay resonated with you, please go ahead and like and subscribe and share our content on our channel. We are a Tribe Called Dhillon podcast. I'm Angie Dhillon.
And I'm Rose Dhillon.
And I'm Alvin Dhillon.
Until next week, please take care and stay safe.
And from Miko.
Bow wow.
Goodbye. Thank you for tuning in.